graphicallychristian.com. Great art by Christians for everyone. Holy
Wow.
mackerel! I said the right slogan. Great. Dang it!
I missed it. What happened?
I did the slogan correctly, and then you said, "What did you do?" And I tried to do it again, and I completely broken. Anyway, we are Christian cartoonists and writers and generally artists. Um, I recently wrote a novel called Cain and Abel.
Any
And
opportunity you get. I wrote a novel. I recently wrote a novel. I'm a novelist. No,
I'm also very full of myself, as Matt
I'm just,
keenly pointed out.
I'm just messing with you.
But yeah, Matt, please introduce yourself since
Did
I
you go
was
to
so
Start? Did you
rudely.
write that novel at Starbucks?
Did I write the novel in Stardust? What?
At Starbucks in Stardust? Really? How
That
does
is a
that
Neil
make any
Gaiman.
kind of
That is
sense?
a Neil Gaiman graphic album that I peruse over on the occasion. But no, I did not write it in Stardust. Um,
At Starbucks, with your MacBook, like every other hipster.
I did write it with a MacBook, but I did not. I did not go to Starbucks. That's the one writer thing that I don't. I'm disorganized. I have poor social skills, but I do not drink coffee. That is the one writer thing I don't do.
I mean, that's
Um,
probably the reason why you're disorganized and poor social skills.
the person destroying my entire image of myself is Matt Snipes. Welcome, Matt.
So what? You're welcome. You know what? You're welcome. Somebody's got to
Okay,
do
so
it. Otherwise, who knows? Who knows how
it,
high
it,
horse you get on?
who knows what malevolent schemes I would invent without you to keep me in check.
Obviously, I mean, we all know. That's why I'm here. I'm court ordered, John, to keep you in check. Your eternal optimism would just bring down just the entire Eastern Seaboard. If it wasn't for me, just keeping you in check.
Okay. um, well, one of my schemes involves trying to get my book published by Inkshares. Um, I wrote a book called Cain and Abel. It is a autobiography slash adaptation of the biblical story Cain and Abel, and it goes into my own adventures in um, surgery and living with central cord disease. But it also kind of develops into more fantastical things. I'm personally a comic book fan, and so I couldn't really just leave something as dry as uh, the material I was dealing with, my own personal life, to just be what it was. I needed to make it, really dramatic and involve uh, like crime and intrigue and everything. So that's what it developed into. I'm doing a reading for those local to Philadelphia. I'm doing a reading on September 26th. It's a Saturday at 5:30 at the Great Awakenings Cafe. So you can look that up and hopefully attend if you're in the area.
The same week
Uh,
the Pope's coming to town, so you can
yes,
go say
so
hello to.
that's my counter programming, I guess. For those who don't want to get lost downtown, um, trying to desperately catch a glimpse of the big-headed fellow known as the Pope. Um,
And
yeah,
there goes our entire Catholic audience.
yeah, the Catholic demographic no longer listening to the podcast.
That one,
Um,
that one guy.
that one guy. So yeah, also we're gearing up for the relaunch of graphicallychristian.com. Right now, this content-aware podcast that you're now listening to is really the only thing going up on the site. Um, it's kind of our catch-all, catch you up on what we're doing, and as well as talk about content and from our Christian perspective. But yeah, we usually do a blog that discusses Christian art, and where we post our own Christian art. I did a comic called Sentient Salad Bar uh, about 2 times a week, and Matt is preparing Antiviral, his own comic. So that's going to be coming up in the next month or so, and it's going to have a whole new design, really focused on each member of the team that we're building, and hopefully make it a smoother experience for you guys. Um, so as of today, as of this pod that we're casting, um,
This is
I
podcasting.
did you just do a Phantom Menace um, reference on this podcast? Keep it to yourself, Anakin.
This is not
Um,
joke you're looking
Speaking of movies, uh, speaking instead of good movies, instead of abominations.
for. Ouch, jeez.
Shots fired. Um, Blaster shots fired. Anyway,
No, 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 you just, no.
the puns.
Uh,
I did a list of my top 5 movies of the summer, and
and I did that's the
I
top 5 reasons why I don't care.
Matt has since become very jaded and uh, and does not partake in the movie going experience as much as me and my family. We're kind of religiously affiliated with AMC. Um, I have a shrine in my room.
2 words: anime and Netflix. That's all you need.
Yes, that is his life. Um, but I wanted to go into my top 5 because I saw somebody else on YouTube, the Schmoes Know movie show. They did a top 5 movies, and um, they kind of made me remember about the fun movies I went to see. And so here's my list. Uh, my honorable mentions are Ant-Man and the War Room. Um, Ant-Man was just it worked a lot better than I expected it to. There were so many red flags with, they got Edgar Wright to kind of do the groundwork for that thing, and then all of a sudden they were switching him with a director mostly known for comedy, Peyton Reed, um, and it was just kind of like, what do you like, they're kind of Marvel is known for letting people play in their playground, and do what they want to do, and then all of a sudden this guy gets switched out, who, he's a legend in comics, movies with well, maybe not comics movies, but everybody remembers Scott Pilgrim, and um, the cult classics of the Shaun of the Dead and all those things. So the fact that it was still good, that it was funny, that it was um, fun to watch, and still actually had like stakes, and you really cared about the characters. I thought it was really good, um, and so that was really a good experience. Did you end up ever seeing Ant Man?
Nope, not at all.
Okay.
I don't know if I saw any of the movies that came out this summer. I don't even remember what came out this summer. If I
Well,
did, I know I didn't see them in theater.
well, the War Room was also something that I didn't expect it to be funny, but I thought it was pretty funny, and I had the benefit of seeing it opening weekend, and so that crowd is obviously like the most invested in going to see it, and there was a lot of people in the theater, and it was just a really good movie going experience, and I thought also like everything was kind of pretty well executed, with the plot and the acting and the drama in it. So that was a good movie going experience. But my top 5 start with Avengers: Age of Ultron, and I know a lot of people
That's
were
your number 5. Okay, that came out this year. I saw that. I saw that one. But that's your number
okay.
5.
Yes,
Dang.
and I know that a lot of people have been um, in the movie critic sphere have really been crapping on it just because they had such high expectations for it. Um, and I think it's in my mind it wasn't that it was that there were things that I didn't like about it. It was just that all the other movies on my list were so they were such surprises, and they were so um, like out of nowhere that
Like an
it's just
RKO
yeah
out of
I
nowhere.
immediately what popped in my head. But I mean, I liked it. It's just all these other things came out of nowhere, and it did. I think it did take me back to um, the place where I was with Avengers, where just the team worked well together. Everybody, I think, came out to play. Um, but the only criticism I can say that I think people had that I agreed with was that um, Ultron was not nearly as intimidating as I thought he would be. Um, it kind of got
Eh,
into that area with as the other Whedon villains, like in the Buffy thing, where like they're they're so quirky in their own way that like it was comedic more than it was intimidating at some points. Um,
I don't know
and
if
I
it
think
was that he was like wasn't intimidating to me. I felt like it just wasn't as compelling. It just didn't feel
right,
like
that might be a better way to put it.
because just like I didn't really get the sense that like this is what this character is all about. This is why he's doing this. He is like a true believer. Like I don't know, Loki is kind of easy in that respect because he's just an egomaniac. He's just super power hungry in the extreme, and it's all about him all the time. So he's like a very easy villain to write. But Ultron was supposed to be this much more complicated, character because he became self-aware and he's supposed to be having all these other sorts of things going on with like issues with humanity and his own existence and the whole, robo crap. I was invented by humans, but I am not a human. I am better than humans, or am I whatever, blah blah blah. Blah. Been like a million times over in pretty much every piece of popular fiction ever written. But anyway, that aside, I don't know. I mean, it's just you're supposed, I think, to some degree, relate to the villain somehow. There's supposed to be. I feel like there's some, even though you're not supposed to be lovable. You're not supposed to root for them. I feel like you're still supposed to understand them to some extent.
Right.
And I didn't really feel like there was something compelling. Not that there was nothing, but there wasn't enough that compelled me to really want to understand the character of Ultron. I want to see what he's trying to do, really, outside of just destroy everything. But that was the only issue I had
Yeah,
with it.
I would say I agree. I agree with that in terms of like, it's not necessarily that like I think some people were disappointed and they said I know like leading up to it at least I heard a lot of people saying that like this is going to be the Empire Strikes Back of the Avengers,
Oh
and
no, come on! Don't when people say stuff like that, it drives me nuts. There, there is no Empire Strikes Back of anything else. The Empire
right,
Strikes Back is Empire Strikes Back. That's all that it is.
right,
Don't say this is the Empire Strikes Back of the Spider-Man series, and it's like no, this it's not the same at all. Just completely different. Stop, stop doing that.
right. So I think that's the one thing, but other than that, I think that Wanda and Peter were pretty good at what they were doing. I felt their story was compelling. How they,
Yeah, they're an
even
interesting
though
addition.
they
I like
weren't
them.
able to, they didn't get like second building or anything, but they showed up to do what they were going to do, and their accents weren't distracting or anything. Um, and then the main team members, I like the romantic thing between Scarlet Witch and the Hulk. That was compelling kind of the whole way through,
Hawkeye's
and
family. I thought that was an interesting addition.
right, and they let his character to like breathe a little bit more than they kind of addressed those complaints from the first one. um, so yeah, I thought it was good for what it was. And I think in my list I was gonna tie that with Inside Out, because for both of those, it's kind of like they were exactly where I thought they were gonna be. Like they were just they did what I expected them to do. So to go into what I liked with Inside Out, um, I just thought it was as inventive as I thought it was gonna be. It was just like showing the inside of the little girl's the mind, um, going into the different emotions and um, showing how that this universe worked, um, and it was as emotional as the other, um, you know, Pixar movies on a level that obviously stuff like Cars and stuff was like veering away from to just like sell toys, I guess. Is what everybody's saying. Um, so it got Pixar back to where it was, and maybe that's why it's a little bit higher on my list. But
Just
really,
because
both of
you're a
them.
Pixar nerd.
Yeah, I'm a Pixar fanboy, but I mean, I was just as angry as everybody else that like, they did two Cars movies and, um, what like I can't even remember the last Pixar movie I saw before that. Um, and
Probably Up, wasn't it, or something?
I guess, but like, everybody was asking for like, where's Incredibles 2?
That's never
Where's
gonna happen. By the way.
No, I mean it's in development right now.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Sure.
Brad Bird wrote the script and everything.
Whatever you say,
Um,
John.
what'd you say?
Whatever you say.
Anyway, so, but it was just a return to form for them. Great animation as always. Um, very heart wrenching. Obviously, that's my type of movie. But number three, I think you'll get back on my page with Mad Max, was my number
Oh,
three.
that came out this year too. Wow, man, I have a bad memory.
Yep, that was the summer. um, Mad
uh,
Max just blew me away. I don't even know, like, whether I expected it to be something that I would really dig. Um, but just that flies in the face of, I think, all action movies in the past, like, decade. I don't even remember being that enthused and, like, flabbergasted by the action scenes in a movie. Um, and it was also backed up by solid performances, um, an interesting, story, an interesting, like there was so much world building in it, and I mean, I guess it had the benefit of being developed over like a decade or longer. Uh, so I mean that goes to part of it, but I know I think we talked about this on a podcast before, but you saw Mad Max, right?
yeah, I saw it. I thought it was pretty good.
Uh,
I don't know. It's like okay, so like Mad Max. The reason I think the action scenes blew a lot of people away was because they're very different than any action scenes really done before, and that is primarily because I would say the vast majority of them happened on like moving vehicles. And like, yeah, there has been action scenes done before with like moving cars and stuff like that, but obviously nothing on that scale and nothing that extreme and over the top. Um, and I thought Mad Max was a really good film, definitely a solid action film. The only issue that I would have with it is just I feel like it's kind of like a one shot well. I don't really know if it's a movie I'd go back
right.
to and watch again and again because it's like it's you're not really going to get anything more out of it watching the second time. I mean, there's really
Hmm.
not that much to get the first time. It's really just a wow factor movie, which there's nothing wrong with that because it's probably one of the best wow factor movies I've ever seen or seen in a long time. But at the same time, it's like when you see some of those stunts for like the third or fourth time, it's like, all right, it was cool, but I've seen it a
Right.
couple times already. So that's really the only
Yeah.
issue I had with that. I mean, obviously,
Mm.
its story not really that in depth. I mean, I think
Right. I
people were
mean,
saying that
I
has some like
think
the
the
lowest dialogue
the
in like a long time in the movie.
right. I think the difference being that like there are other movies that have less involved, um, but not less involved. Like the stories themselves are just like almost unintelligible in the terms of like none of this makes sense. Like, you
Mm-hmm.
do like a Taken movie or something like that. Like you're basically just getting another group of bad guys to fight the same person. So with
Oh
this,
yeah.
it was more in depth because it has to do with society, and so there's more like foundation to it, and it's like more allegorical. But in the sense of like, um, in that sense, like it's something like, uh, with a good fantasy story, it doesn't have to overburden you with details. It just kind of exists, like it does its thing, and then
Yeah.
that's it. And I think that's why I would put it at number three because um, for me, like as in terms of an action movie, like it was so different, and that's why it kind of goes over the gets ahead of Age of Ultron for me was because it was such a different kind of action movie. It was original. It was the visual styles in it were original, and it also had everything that Age of Ultron did with the strong performances and stuff like that. Um,
Hmm.
so that's my number three. Um, Something that I wasn't expecting to like as much as I did and got to my number two spot was Mr. Holmes. Um, I saw that with my folks, and I just kind of expected it to be like a Sherlock. Have you heard of this movie?
Yeah, it's the Ian McKellen Old Man Holmes thing, right?
Right. And so I kind of expected it to be kind of like a sentimental kind of like, a fan servicey thing, looking back on his life and you would see like different people like, oh, that's Watson and what's he, but
Hmm.
it actually focused more on his relationship with he has a maid in his kind of old age and she has a son, and she's like less educated, so she's not able to fascinate like her son as much as Holmes is. So it's kind of like the battle that he has to kind of educate him in a way that like a father figure would, but not have him like completely disrespect his mom. And at the same time, Holmes is trying to remember um, this case that he's not sure whether he solved it yet or like he's struggling with Alzheimer's and stuff like that. So it was just a very like dramatic and well. I mean, everybody, the performances were great in it. Obviously, Ian McKellen could like do this kind of thing in his sleep, um, and it just the performances were far better than I expected them to be because like the thing with these kinds of properties is you revisit them and you can you know there's a way that you can do it and just kind of sleep through it and then the real you can kind of rest on the laurels of the name of the franchise,
Hmm.
but it was just a really great movie and it could have been any other type of detective, but the fact that it's another great Sherlock movie was just kind of it was icing on the cake, really. So that was really good, and as a Sherlock fan, I think you should check it out. Um, but the number one thing on my list was The Gift. Um, that was a great thriller from Joel Edgerton. He directed it and starred as the villain, um, and it was just like kind of like Mad Max. It was a thriller in like the Hitchcock sense, and um, just did like the directing is just like I hope this guy gets the press that he deserves for it because um, I think he could really be a new like he might be another like a favorite director of mine now just from this one movie alone.
Right.
Um, so that was great, and then um, what's Patrick? Um, not I always think Patrick Bateman. That's the Christian Bale's character in American
Jason
Psycho.
Jason Bateman.
Um, yeah, Jason Bateman. He uh, is the husband character in it, and he does a really great performance. That as a comedic actor, like he doesn't really necessarily have to be trying in this movie. He could have just kind of been funny. Um, but like everybody, I forget what the girl's name in it is, um, but all three of them just do this a great job. And for those who liked Gone Girl, I would say that this is uh, that's it's that level of uh, good dramatic acting and directing, but the story don't know, from a moral standpoint, I think it's a lot stronger. You walk out of Gone Girl with thinking like, so people are horrible. That's nice. Like
Mhm.
there's no real like hero or villain in the story, but with this one, like it's so much more satisfying because obviously there are a lot of twists and turns in this movie, um, but it just leaves you with this obvious like message, and it turns out to be about bullying and the consequences of it. I won't give away any more than that, but it was just a great day at the movies, and that's my top five list. Um, Now, you said you wanted to get into some of the comics that you had.
Well,
That
I'm
you.
I'm gonna do my top 5 list of reasons why I don't care about any of the things you just said. Remember that? I said I was gonna do that, and now I'm calling back to it.
I really,
Hmm.
I thought that was sarcasm, but go ahead.
No, no, I have it written down. I'm prepared.
This you
Number
prepared for.
5. No, no, I'm just messing with you. I actually don't have it down. I wish I did. That would be an amazing gag if I did. Number 5,
Uh,
John's an idiot. No.
uh,
Also, I've gotten incredibly mean, and yeah, I just
okay, so you said you were gonna wing it. Uh, I'm, I'm, I'm gonna put that added pressure on you to really perform.
uh, hold on.
Oh, you're in that art zone right now, aren't you?
Yeah, fill some space here and do some editing,
Oh,
please.
okay, well, I was gonna talk a little bit about Hellboy because revisited that. I think the first two trade paperbacks of Hellboy. I think it was two podcasts ago. We talked about the Satanic Panic. Um, so I kind of briefly wanted to talk about Hellboy and um.
And I'm back, John. You can shut up about whatever you're talking about.
All right, well, I'll put Hellboy talk off if you can
Okay,
go over some comics.
comic books, people, get on the same page. So much better than all that crap you were just talking about with movies and thrillers and great day to movies, everybody.
Who likes moving pictures?
I don't like movies.
I want my pictures stationary.
Darn right, the way they're supposed to be. Okay, so this week, what came out this week? Batman 44. Haven't read that yet. So tune in next week. As always, this podcast, we're a week behind. You know, hard hitting news here. But last week, what was it? Batman Beyond number 4. There it is. Number 4 came out, and it's pretty great. The war against Brother Eye continues, and the artwork and the writing is still solid. There's actually a very interesting twist at the very end, um, which kind of explains the origins of the Batman Beyond suit. Um, you find out over the course of the book that the Batman Beyond suit is actually the Bat Suit Mark V, and at the very end, they show you the Bat Suit Mark I, which is very interesting because it ties into a lot of stuff going on right now in the Batverse. So if you kind of want to see the origins of the Batman Beyond suit, maybe in some of the few episodes, in a few more books coming up in the Batman Beyond series, hopefully it's gonna explain a little bit more about that. We don't know just yet. It's gonna be about a couple weeks before the next Batman Beyond book comes out. But anyway, I haven't read Batman number 44, but I'm just gonna tell you right now, buy it. Like you need to buy it because literally the names on the cover are gonna
Yeah,
tell you everything you need to know.
I think just the creative team is gonna get people to.
Yeah, just buy it. It's friggin' Scott Snyder and Brian Azzarello are writing this thing. If it was just Snyder, buy it anyway. But it's Snyder and it's Azzarello, so buy it 2 times. And then Jock is doing the
Give a copy
illustrations.
to your friend.
Keep both copies for yourself because you're going to read it so many times that you're going to literally wear the pages out. Jock is doing the illustrations. And for those of you who are unaware of who Jock is, he is amazing. Buy it. You don't need to know who he is. You will soon find out. But the last time Jock did Batman, it was probably on one of the most um, well reviewed and well thought of Bat books, I would say, in the last 5 years, or maybe more than that. Last time Jock illustrated Batman, it was Jock and Scott Snyder on the Detective Comics run, which became known as Black Mirror. and which is widely regarded to be one of the best, uh, Batman runs, or at least definitely one of the best Detective Comics runs in a very long time. So yeah, I'll tune in next week or next couple days, whenever the next time we do this thing, and I'll let you know my thoughts and feels about Batman number 44. But I'm telling you right now, it's just probably going to be awesome.
Yeah,
I
safe
flipped through
bet.
it a little bit, and it looks awesome. Um, Also, tune in next time to get my entire thoughts and feels analysis and all sorts of craziness from the entire Convergence line. I have all 8 books of the Convergence miniseries or event or whatever you want to call it. I'm on like book 3 or 4. So by the time our next haul cast or whatever the heck we're calling this, we do, I'm going to have read that whole thing. So I'm going to give you my feels. So far, liking it. Very, very cool concept. Pretty basic concept in terms of what they're doing, but the real cool thing with something like this comes with the fact that how many old characters and characters from different dimensions and one-offs they're going to be bringing in, which DC has so many, and they're so varied and so different. Because DC, I don't know if you know, but DC's done some crazy stuff throughout the years. Like they're literally part of the Convergence series is literally the Kidverse. Like they're bringing in the Kidverse to fight against like Justice League Earth 2 and like the friggin' Red Sun, Superman, and stuff. So obviously they get decimated, but it's just pretty funny and interesting that they bring them in. That was just kind of like a little bit of a like an idea that of how many different types of dimensions and groups that they're bringing in this whole convergence thing. I'm not gonna spoil and explain like why all this is happening. If you want to know why different dimensions of DC Comics and alternate realities of DC Comics canon are fighting each other, you can pick up the first Convergence book. It's going to tell you everything you need to know. Um,
Yeah, because I think with Secret Wars, I think a difference is between this and DC is that DC has the history of like the different types of Earths.
oh
So
yeah,
there's like different whole universes, and then with that there's the characters that are different because of it. And I would think for the layman who is just getting into comics, Marvel is going through something called Secret Wars, which harkens back to a 1985, I think, event that they did where it was some of the greatest heroes in Marvel taken by a character called the Beyonder to fight each other, and so they're doing that now, but they're combining that with something like Convergence, like Matt was talking about, where there is stuff like the Ultimate Universe and that is combining with the regular Marvel universe, um, but it's more or less like a way to revisit old like different iterations of Marvel, like the 90s X-Men like cartoon. There was a comic for that. There was an Armor Wars thing that harkens back to that storyline in Iron Man. Since they have more or less like events like Civil War, Days of Future Past, and stuff, there was a way of revisiting that and kind of like making those universes fight. Um, so that's a little bit of background to that and how it differs from DC, which has stuff like I mean there's lines blurred because um, there are certain universes that DC has, like the Kidverse, that are just kind of like recognized and used in like variant covers and stuff. Um, but I know Marvel has aped that in the past by making like Baby Marvel, um,
well,
like Scotty Young does art.
just in terms of context, the how many there are, you have DC, you have Earth Prime, which is what they call it, which is basic canon, which is regular Batman, Superman, all the regular stories. Then you have Earth 2, which is kind of like their ultimate universe. Um, then you have all of the Elseworld stuff, which is like every DC miniseries and event and graphic novel that has taken place in some sort of alternate story timeline. So now you have the Flashpoint. You have DC Earth 1, you have Earth 2, you have the Flashpoint universe, you have the Kingdom Come universe from Mark Waid's famed graphic novel Kingdom Come. You have the Superman Red Sun universe, where Superman was a Soviet because his ship landed in Russia. You have Comrade Batman. You have that universe. You have what other ones? They haven't gone into they don't have the Gods and Monsters universe because I think that released after Convergence was already going on. But then you have like all these other crazy ones. Like you have the Rockabilly universe, which apparently was a thing back in like the 70s or 80s. I'm not sure
Did you just
exactly
say
when
the
that.
Rockabilly universe?
Yeah, there's a Rockabilly DC universe. They don't last very long. Um,
Yeah, I wouldn't think so.
then you have other universes like you have the which is kind of a cool tie-in. You have the Batman Beyond universe, where the entire future has been taken over by Brother Eye, and the Justice League has been turned into Brother Eye's cyborgs, and they're included in this. So they're in there doing their thing, and they're all wrecking house and all sorts of craziness. And so like those are like just 5 or 6 off the top of my head. There are a lot more. There are so many I don't even recognize. Um, so it's very cool, very interesting read, and I can't wait to get further into it. But
But like the way in which I mean, there's some ways in which I dislike it because like I feel like it's very easy to like I know personally it intimidates me just because there's so much going on and there's no real cohesion to it.
okay,
But in
well
that
I didn't
same
explain
sense,
that bit. There is though the group that you
okay.
follow. Um, So the way the story works is that a construct of, I believe, Brainiac. They didn't say that there's a character called Telos, and he's kind of like the Beyonder in this respect that he
Hmm.
can he pulls heroes out of their time, but he and places them in like this kind of in between dimension. But he doesn't just pull the heroes; he literally pulls their entire city, and they have these cities kind of like in these little bubbles on this one planet, and the cities are all just kind of like transposed in this one giant battle world basically, and they have to go and it's basically the last city that survives wins or whatever. Um, but the one group that didn't make it is the Flashpoint world. The Flashpoint world is under siege by Darkseid, and they're trying to figure out how to stop it, but they can't really. So they're actually evacuating Earth um, in the Flashpoint universe, and the city actually gets destroyed, and the whole planet actually gets destroyed before this character Telos can transport the whole city. But he still manages to transport the Flashpoint Justice League. So the Flashpoint Justice League is kind of like the only team or the only, Justice League or city, well, not city, but the only Justice League in this whole battle world that doesn't have any stake. Like they don't have their city wasn't brought with them, and they're actually
Hmm.
the first people brought there. So they're actively fighting this Telos character, and they're trying to stop this whole thing from going on basically. And that's who you follow. That's the primary story. You follow the Flashpoint Justice League and their crusade to kind of stop this whole kind of interdimensional madness battle from going on. So that's the story that you're following. This is kind of everything else around it is just like the context and the craziness that's happening. But you're following this group of characters and their quest to stop this whole thing from continuing to happen.
And that I guess that might be the difference between something like Secret Wars, where it seems like it's just kind of the conflict between the different universes and things like that are so varied because it, like for example, the one thing that I'm interested in reading that I haven't. You okay with it? Okay. Um, what I'm kind of interested in is like something happened in Marvel with, well, I don't know if something happened to him, but people are comparing Peter Parker's character now to Iron Man. Um, I know that his crime fighting, or at least like his scientific know-how, is being used now as part of some like corporation. Um, and I guess his universe is more like what if it all worked out for him? And I
Mm-hmm.
think he's like married to Mary Jane, and he's the head of like Parker Industries or something.
Oh,
Um,
gotcha.
so I guess in that way, he stopped being Spider-Man because he's the head of this new like corporation thing,
Mm-hmm.
and I have no idea necessarily where the conflict is in that, but that's what I've heard is happening with him. But because of that, Miles Morales is now able to be Spider-Man in the traditional sense of him fighting more like D-list supervillains and stuff like
Is
that.
he canon Spider-Man? Or
I think so. I think now that because like the way since the Ultimate Universe kind of got dissolved, he's one of the only characters that
okay.
survived it.
And
Um,
comic purists aren't rioting in their mom's basements.
well, I'm sure. I mean, I know racists are, but I don't
Okay.
think. I don't know. Like, I feel like the I didn't really hear much from comic purists during the whole Spider Verse thing. It seems like most um, fans kind of dug the whole Doctor Octopus thing.
Mm-hmm.
I know I'm still in mourning over Michael Michael Straczynski not being on the book anymore. And
Mm-hmm.
I generally like didn't like all the changes that were made during the Mephisto like altering reality thing. Um, so it's been a while since I've been on the Spider-Man book, but I genuinely did like the Miles Morales Ultimate Spider-Man, and it took a while for him to become Spider-Man, so it was kind of hard to keep up with with the book itself. But now that he is
Yeah.
actually Spider-Man, I'm probably gonna look for that. Um, but yeah, that might be all for this podcast. We'll get back with you next week. Uh, Matt's gonna get into Batman 44, and then I'm
Yeah.
gonna talk some about Hellboy probably, because I revisited that recently.
And I
But
can
that
tell
might be good.
John all about good action movies, like the best action movies.
Matt should get like his list of um, classic action movies, so I can be educated. All right.
I can come up with that right
Thanks
now.
for listening.
Right.
Bye
Outro.
bye, everybody.
Outro. This is the
Oh,
outro
nice.
part of the podcast. Outro. Outro music. Dub smash. Dubstep. I'm still recording.